Hey y'all, this is Brian with Watershed Power Wash. Just want to make a quick video to show you guys how we go about winterizing our pressure washing equipment for the winter to keep our pumps from freezing up. This is our setup we got going on. We have a 5-gallon bucket set up on the top of our truck here. We're going to fill this up with antifreeze. Valve here on the bottom, 1-inch spa hose going down to our 8-gallon a minute pump. Spin around to the back side here. So let me go ahead and show you the plumbing that we got set up here. This is going to be our normal inlet coming from our pressure washing tank. It's our buffer tank. It's going to be our 2-inch line, and then we're going to drop down to 1-inch shut-off valve and spa hose. This is going to be our T valve coming from the antifreeze bucket up here. This other valve here is going to go to our 12-volt system. So we'll have the ability to winterize both a 12-volt pump up here and our 8-gallon a minute pump down here off of the same 5-gallon bucket full of antifreeze. So the way we have this plumbed up is going to allow us to winterize our pump here every night, and in the mornings we're going to be able to flush the antifreeze out of the system, put it back in the pump, and get back to washing just by switching some valves here, turning the pump on, running the antifreeze through, and let me show you how this is all going to work. So this is going to be the flavor antifreeze that we're going to go with. This pink stuff is the Star Bright Winter Safe Antifreeze Anti-Gel, good to negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit. This is ethanol free, non-toxic, ready to use. We're not going to dilute this at all. We're going to put it in the 5-gallon bucket up here just the way it is. So let's go ahead and get that filled up, and then we'll show you how we get it run through the system. Make sure this valve on the bottom is shut off before we go ahead and fill up the 5-gallon bucket, and then we'll go ahead and get it filled up with antifreeze. All right. Well, we got 4 gallons up there, so we're going to go ahead and start with that. Let's get the lid on top of this bucket, and then we'll show you how we get it through the system. All right, so let's take a look at the top of our lid here before we go ahead and put it on top of the bucket. We got 3 different inlet valves. This one here is going to be the high pressure inlet coming from our whip line. We're going to hook a DN10 ball valve up to that, and unhook this valve over here from our hose reel. We'll hook that up to there, show you how we do that. This one here is going to come from the 12-volt system, so we can get that pump winterized as well. And this one over here is going to be our bypass valve coming from the pump. We're going to want to get fluid coming through that too. So that one's going to come out of the regulator here. So that's why we're going to have the DN10 ball valve hooked up to here, so we can shut off power to that and have a water flow coming through the bypass. We also going to have our ejector system here and the ejector bypass, so we'll have to, while we're running the pump, we'll have to shut off our downstream injector and be able to get fluid running through that system as well. Once we get everything run through the system, we'll pop off these downstream valves. We have a number of different shut-off valves here that go back to our chemical tanks. So we'll go one by one and shut off each of these valves, turn one on, and put air through this system to blow our chemical or water back the other way, back into the tanks. And we don't have to worry about anything being in those lines. We're not going to run antifreeze through our downstream injection system. So let's get the lid on top of the bucket here, and we'll go from there. All right, so the first hose we're going to hook up here is going to be the bypass valve coming out of the regulator. So we're gonna, that normally goes back to the buffer tank. We're running in the top here, so we're gonna pop it off. We're gonna pop it off right here. And we'll just stick that right on in here. Have to get a hose clamp put on that. Now for the 12-volt system, this line on the left is going to be our inlet side. That normally goes to a dipstick that we have in some of our chemical tanks back here. But we're going to pop off this cam lock, these Gator cam locks. And then we'll take an extra hose here. I need 2 hands for this. Alright, so we're going to take this over here, hook it up to our inlet side of the pump. Now our outlet side of the pump, right now it's going to this Remco accumulator, which we're not going to need to winterize. Pop that off of there. We're going to hook this side up to the top of the bucket. Go ahead and get this one up there. Last one we got to get hooked up is going to be a high pressure line coming off of a whip line that goes to the hose reel. You hop down off the truck and you get that from the side of the truck. So this line here is the one that's going to go into the hose reel. We'll just pop it out of here. I'm going to do this quick connect. We're going to grab the DN10 valve. And we'll get this plugged into the top of the bucket. Last thing we got to do here is pop this little cap off the bucket. That way we don't accidentally pressurize this bucket. Okay, so now that we have all of our lines plugged into the top of the bucket, we can go ahead and start to run some antifreeze through the system. We're going to start with the 12-volt pump. So let's jump down here and make sure we have our other shutoff valves turned off. We'll start with the water inlet. Make sure that valve is off. This one here is going to allow the antifreeze to go down into the water inlet. That'll be for our 8-gallon-a-minute pump. We'll do that and last. We're going to do the 12-volt system here first. So we'll get this valve turned on, shut off the valve for the 8-gallon-a-minute pump, and then we'll come over here and turn on the valve underneath the bottom of the bucket to get our antifreeze flowing down through this line here. And we got a leak. Let's go ahead and fix that. It does help to have the cam locks locked. Okay, now that we got the cam lock locked, should work out better for us. So we'll get that valve turned on. As you can see, we do have some antifreeze in this line already. Alright, so we got our valve turned on underneath the bucket. We got our valve turned on that goes to the 12-volt system. Go ahead and flip our switch here on the 12-volt pump. That's going to pump fluid into the bucket, get it circulating through there for a second. That's really all it's going to take. Shut that pump off. All right, now that we got our 12-volt system all antifreezed up and ready to go, the other system we got to do yet is our 8-gallon-a-minute pump. And for that system, we're just going to make sure that we have our water inlet valve off. We're going to turn on the antifreeze valve. It's going to allow antifreeze to get into this line, run into our pump. Let's jump down off the truck here and get it fired up. All right, we'll go ahead and get the GX690 fired up here and get the antifreeze going through the high pressure line. Make sure our DN10 ball valve's on. That way we got fluid coming through the bucket. And then after we get it running for a minute, we'll shut this valve off, and that's gonna put the antifreeze through the bypass and make sure we get fluid in all of the parts of the plumbing system. So the last of the lines that we're going to clear out is going to be from our downstream injector. We do have a system of 3 different valves here. 2 go to tank and 1's for a water flush that just comes from the buffer tank. We're going to blow air back through this system one at a time. So we'll just have 1 valve open, the other 2 shut, blow air through, and then go down through the line, shut this valve off, open the next one up, do the same thing till we got all the water blown back into the tanks. I did forget to mention. Make sure when you're doing this, you got the caps off your tanks, you don't pressurize them. We gotta jump up here and spin our caps off the top of the tanks. We don't have any breather valves on top of these tanks. We always have to spin the caps off. Okay. So make sure you got your lids off the top of the tank so they don't get pressurized as you're blowing air back through the system. All right, guys, well, now that we got the antifreeze run through these lines and through the pumps, we won't have to worry about any damage from the freezing temperatures here in the cold winter months. And when we do need to get this truck out and get it washing on the warmer days, all we're going to have to do is to close off some of these valves on the bottom and take our quick connects off the top of the pump and hook them up where they're supposed to be on the truck, get back to washing. So within a matter of minutes, this truck can be back to washing, and then at the end of the day you can go ahead and put your quick connect back onto the bucket and re-antifreeze the system and have it protected overnight. So hopefully this can help some of you guys out with winterizing your equipment over the cold winter months. and appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video.